It's official pick time. We got 13 fights to go through on UFC 316. I'm going to go through each and every one of them. I'll give you a brief breakdown of what I think is going to happen during the fight. And then, of course, I'll give you my pick for who I believe should win the fight. Just a reminder, picks and bets are very different. Just because I pick a fighter to win doesn't mean I'm going to bet on them. And just because I pick a fighter to win doesn't mean I'm not going to bet against them. Betting odds do tell a very different story when it comes to what's going on, with the money. If you want all my bets, there's a link down in the description below. You can get all of them there. There's a free trial going on right now. I'll make sure to tag that next to the link so you can get in on the bets for UFC 316. We're 5-0 on pay-per-views in 2025, so hopefully we can make that 6-0. Before we get into this, you know what we got to do? We got to get into the mindset that the cartel is waterboarding us. They got a gun to our head. They're saying, give us the winner. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have timestamps in the description. So if there's a specific fight that you want to look at and hear my pick for, you can go to that. But first fight of the night, we got Mederos taking on Choinski. I think Choinski has a good chance to make this very competitive. He is the underdog right now, and Choinski is probably the better wrestler here. I don't think Mederos is some great wrestler, but he has shown that even if he does get taken down, he can still win fights. I think Mederos is probably going to be, I don't want to say levels above Choinski, but I think he's going to be much better in the striking department. I think his footworks are probably a little bit better. I think he's probably going to be able to land more on Choinski than Choinski is able to land on Mederos. And I think Mederos probably wins this fight likely by a decision. But he did pull out of his last fight last week, and now all of a sudden he's good to go. So that's a little bit of a, something to maybe look into. It could play a factor here, but overall, there's a gun to my head. I got to go with the experience with Mederos. I think that'll probably shine here when it comes to decision-making during the fight. I think Mederos probably gets his hand raised. So Mederos is going to be the official pick this week. And we can move on to the next fight. Salkilld, Ashmouz. I think Salkild's a pretty dang good fighter, and I really don't know what Ashmouz does that well. I mean, it seems like he has some power in his hands, but I don't know that he really sets up his striking that well. I don't know that he has some amazing grappling game. I mean, the best performance that he had in the UFC was against Trevor Peek, and what did he do? He really just took him down and wrestled him there. I mean, maybe you could argue his best performance was the knockout against Sam Patterson, but when I'm talking best performances, I like to see a broader scale of an entire fight. He dominated that fight with his wrestling. Is he going to dominate this fight with his wrestling against Salkilld? I don't think so. I think Salkilld could probably scramble. If he does get taken down, I think on the feet, he's probably the better striker, more volume, a little bit better movement. I think he's durable enough to deal with the power of Ashmouz, and I think he can wrestle Ashmouz as well, maybe get some jiu-jitsu going. So I think Salkilld wins this one. Just don't see a huge path to victory for Ashmouz in this one. So I'll take Salkilld for the official pick, and we can move on to a couple Asians. We got Saragih taking on Jusang Yu. Jusang Yu, UFC debut. He's a Korean zombie guy, I believe. And he's coming in here as probably the better overall fighter, which isn't saying much. Saragih is not an amazing fighter, but he does have power in his hands. He does throw with aggression, and he throws pretty straight shots. So if he catches Jusang Yu with a straight right down the pipe, he could probably drop him. But overall, Saragih's ground game is always a big question mark, and until he really shores that up, I can't pick him against any guy that has somewhat of a ground game. I think Jusang Yu has somewhat of a ground game, but even on the feet, I think he can hold his own. So if he's in trouble, he could probably go to the grappling here against Saragih. I think he probably wins here. I'll take Jusang Yu. He's a big favorite. I'm not saying anything too crazy there, but I'm going to take him for the official pick to get it done against Jekka this week. Let's move on. Some women's MMA. Cong is going to be the pick. Cong, I believe, is an amazing athlete. I think she's a top-tier fighter. I just think she's got to work her way up to where people can really buy into that. Ariane Lipski, on the other hand, she's a hot and cold fighter. If she comes out and puts on her best performance, she can give Cong some problems. But is she going to beat Cong? I don't think so. I think the best version of Cong is able to do what she wants against Ariane Lipski. Lipski is a solid striker who has kind of had some inefficiencies in her game when it comes to her ground game, specifically when she's on bottom. And I don't know that, she's going to be able to shore that up against Wang Cong. Wang Cong's just the better striker here. She's just a better overall striker. She's big for the weight class, physical. I don't see Lipski getting Wang Cong down and having a lot of success. And Lipski will take the door if you give it to her. And I think Wang Cong is going to be able to control this fight. Maybe she gives Ariane Lipski the door later in the fight and gets a finish, but I think she wins this fight either way. Wang Cong is going to be the official pick. She's a big favorite again, so I'm not saying anything too crazy there. Chaos Williams taking on Andreas Gustafsson. This is where it gets interesting, man, because I don't want to sit here and put my life on the line with Andreas Gustafsson, but I do believe he has a real path to victory, and that's his path in every fight, and that's to clinch him up, use your physicality, use your cardio, just wear on the guy. You know, if Chaos Williams doesn't get a KO in round one, which is very likely, but if he doesn't get a KO in round one, what does the rest of the fight look like? I think it probably looks like Gustafsson clinching him up, putting him through the ringer in the clinch. He's a clinch warrior. It's what he does in every single fight. Could he get some takedowns on Chaos? Possibly. Chaos is a very durable guy. Gustafsson never been knocked out either. So I think if Gustafsson can extend this fight, I think he could maybe snowball that and take it over. I'm going to pick Andreas Gustafsson. And it's probably going to age really bad because Chaos would probably knock him out in the first round. But I laid out the breakdown. I'm going to put my life in the line with Andreas Gustafsson. Pray for me, boys, okay? Gustafsson's going to be the official pick. Let's move on. Sergey Spivac taking on Waldo Cortes Acosta. I'm going to take the dog here again. I'm going to take Waldo because I think Waldo has the better cardio, more durability, and he's the much better striker. I know Spivac can probably get him down early, but if Waldo can survive that, get back to his feet, I think he starts to put some I don't want to say put a pace on him, but he's going to start to hit Spivac, and Spivac crumbles. Spivac crumbles whenever he gets hit with something he does not like. And I think Waldo can do that. You know, he's a pretty athletic guy, and if Spivac's starting to slow down or getting hit with something, then Waldo's going to be able to stuff those sloppy takedowns. I think Waldo pulls away with this one and gets the dub. Spivac's obviously the guy with the better level of competition, but, you know, outside of the top 10 in the heavyweights, you're not really going to find a lot of good competition. So this is Waldo's test, and I think he does pass it. I'll take Waldo for the official pick as the underdog. And let's move on to another huge favorite in Azamat Murzakanov. I'm going to take Murzakanov, and everybody's probably will be, but, you know, Branson Ribeiro definitely hasn't fought any type of striker like Azamat Murzakanov, but Ribeiro is dangerous, big guy, long guy. Maybe he could pull something off here, but I don't really see it happening. I mean, if Ribeiro gets a takedown, I don't think he's going to, you know, just do some crazy work with Murzakanov on the ground and submit him or TKO him. I just don't see that. And I don't know how Ribeiro wins a ton of minutes in this one either. He's not really a great minute winner. Murzakanov, very fluid striker, even though he looks very unassuming. And he's short, and I don't want to say he's fat, but he, you know, could maybe cut a couple more pounds at 205. I think he probably knocks out Ribeiro. I think his timing's good enough. He's got enough power. He's got enough cardio. So I'm going to take Murzakanov to win this one. He'll be the official pick, probably by KO. To the feature prelim, we got Bruno Silva taking on Joshua Van. Joshua Van is another massive favorite, and I'm going to take him as the official pick because overall, I think Bruno Silva is a very dangerous fighter, but, you know, I don't know that he's going to come in here and nuke Joshua Van. At least I wouldn't put the likelihood of him nuking Joshua Van in this one as very high. And it's not rated by the odds makers that way either. So Joshua Van, going to have the better cardio, probably going to be a little bit more durable. I know Bruno Silva's a tough guy, but, you know, how many big power punchers has he faced in his UFC career? There's been a couple, but, you know, in his last fight against Manel Kape, it was a big step up in competition for him. And he got beat to piss. And now he's 35, and he's fighting a 23-year-old. I think Joshua Van probably puts the pace on Bruno Silva, extends this fight into the second and the third, pulls away, either gets a late finish or wins a decision. So I'm going to take Joshua Van for the official pick as another big favorite. Let's move on to the main card. Vicente Luque taking on Kevin Holland. You know, these odds are very intriguing for the Luque side, but we're talking picks here. And Kevin Holland is going to be the pick because I think Kevin Holland is the much more durable fighter. I think he's the better striker at this point in their careers. I mean, Luque is a guy that has always had to be in the pocket to have success in the striking. You know, he can leg kick from the outside, but we're talking a 6'3" Kevin Holland with a 6 or 7 inch reach advantage over Vicente Luque. I think Kevin Holland's going to have his comfort area at range when they're striking, because I don't think Luque is going to be blitzing in with big combinations. I think Kevin Holland's going to be able to pop him with that jab, hit him with the 1-2, you know, do what he wants from the outside, and I think he could probably get a finish. If the fight hits the mat, you know, Luque is a dangerous grappler that can snatch something up, and we've seen Kevin Holland submitted before, but I think Kevin Holland would probably be able to, mind his P's and Q's and get back up to his feet. He did it his last fight against Gunnar Nelson, who's also very dangerous. But Kevin Holland's going to be the official pick. You know, at 170, you can trust him a little bit more to come in there and, you know, be a little bit more locked in than he is at 185. I think he feels the pressure at 170 to where he feels like he has to win, because that should be his weight class. At 185, he's like, well, it's not really my weight class. It doesn't really matter what happens. I'm just here for the paycheck. At 170, there's a little bit of pressure. He's got to live up to that. So Kevin Holland's going to be the official pick. Let's move on. Mario Bautista, Patchy mix. Can't wait for this one. I've gone back and forth. You know, I think there is a real path to victory for Mario Bautista, and that is to keep the fight on the feet. Keep the fight on the feet. I think he's the better striker. I think he's got better cardio, but I think that's a tall task. It's a tall task, because if Patchy mix gets you down to the ground, you probably ain't getting back up. And I'm not saying Mario Bautista is, a fish out of water on his back. I actually think he does have some good scrambles. The problem is, if you're going to scramble with Patchy mix, you're giving him opportunities to advance his position. If he's going to create a scramble, Patchy could go around to the back, sink in the body triangle, and then he's pretty much there for the rest of the round, if not being submitted. If you try to scramble and you give up your neck, Patchy mix is going to snatch it up. So what Patchy's got to do in this fight, ultimately, what I think, is get into that clinch. He's a huge guy for the weight class. He's 5'11". He's kind of skinny, but he's 5'11", and he's long. So if he gets into that clinch and just, tries to get these takedowns, forces action inside, then he's going to start to wear on Mario Bautista, and he's going to give himself opportunities to take advantage of it. I think he probably does. Patchy mix is going to be the official pick. I just think he's too good of a grappler. He does have some really solid wins on his record as well, to where I think they might even be better than Mario Bautista. Now, I'm not ruling out a Mario Bautista decision victory, because if Patchy can't get the takedowns, then I think Mario probably wins. But I do think Patchy does find his way to the ground and gets the positions he wants on Mario. So I'm going to take Patchy mix for the official pick. Let's go to the feature bout on the main card. We got Kelvin Gastelum taking on Joe Pyfer, the rebooking. I believe I picked Joe Pyfer in the first fight. I'm going to pick him again. This isn't one that I'm super invested in, honestly. I hate when fights get rebooked just because, you got to talk about them again. You got to think about it again. It's like, nah, I wanted to see the fight months ago. But here it is again. I think Joe Pyfer is just too big for Kelvin Gastelum. He's way too athletic, hits too hard. I think if he wants to get takedowns on Kelvin, he can do that as well. And I don't really know how Kelvin wins this fight outside of Joe Pyfer gassing or Kelvin catching him with something big and knocking him out. I think Joe Pyfer's solid enough on the feet to deal with Kelvin Gastelum's boxing. I think if he wants to, he can take him down, and I don't think Kelvin's going to be taking down Joe Pyfer and, wet blanketing him by any means. So I'll take Joe Pyfer for the official pick. I'm not really interested in Kelvin Gastelum in 2025. I can tell you that. Let's go to the co-main event. Another big favorite, Kayla Harrison, minus 600 or higher. I think she's going to get it done. But if this fight gets into the third, the fourth, and the fifth, considering where Kayla Harrison is at in her physical stature, that could be interesting, because Kayla Harrison has gone 5 rounds before, but it was at 155 pounds. Now she's down at 135, and she has to make 135 and not 136 because it's the title bout. Every pound counts, and every pound that you shed is hurting that gas tank. So if Kayla Harrison gets to round 3 with Juliana Pena, I don't know how fresh she's going to be looking, and I know Juliana Pena is going to make her work. And I'm sure Kayla Harrison wants to go in there and get that finish. And if she gets her down to the ground, which she's going to do, she's going to get Juliana Pena to the ground early on in this fight. Round 1 for sure. Round 2, probably. Round 3, probably. She's probably going to be looking for that finish. She's probably going to be working her working her ass off, looking for some ground and pound, looking to soften her up, looking for submissions. And if Juliana Pena survives, then things could get interesting. But overall, I think Kayla Harrison is the far better fighter. But, you know, there's the aspect of the cardio aspect. You know, Juliana Pena is tough as shit. So if she can withstand that early barrage from Kayla Harrison in this fight, maybe she could take over later. Maybe she could finish her later. But Kayla Harrison's far better fighter, in my opinion. And I think she gets this one done. I'll take her for the official pick. That brings us to the main event. We got Dvalishvili taking on Sean O'Malley. And as much as I want to, you know, take the card of this is my pick, you know, if I have to pick a guy of who I think should win, I'm going to take Merab. I'm not going to do that. All right? I could take the easy way out on this one, but I'm not going to do that. Because if there was a gun to my head and you gave me Merab and O'Malley, I would take Merab. But I'm not going to do that here. All right? We're going against it. We're going to take Sean O'Malley for the official pick. We're going to do that because I think Sean O'Malley does have a good chance to win this fight if he brings his best performance. His last performance was not a great performance, but it was a very close fight. And if Sean O'Malley brings his best performance in here, brings in some improvements, the room for improvement for Sean O'Malley in this fight is so good that I think he could pull it off. You know, Merab is a guy that doesn't finish anybody. He goes to decision. He goes to decision almost in every fight. The only fight that he's gotten to finish in the UFC was Marlon Moraes. And Marlon Moraes literally death gasses after round 1. And he's been finished, I don't know, last 8 fights or something like that. Sean O'Malley's coming in here, the more dangerous fighter. I think he can, I don't want to say he can keep up with Merab's cardio, but if he plays his cards right, I don't think he's just going to death gas like a lot of these guys. You know, even Umar went 3 rounds to 2. I mean, I'm not saying Umar's bad by any means, but Umar won the first 2 rounds pretty clearly. Clearly, in my opinion. He broke his hand in round 1. Couldn't punch with that. Couldn't wrestle with that. And that's where Merab took over. He took over in rounds 3, 4, and 5. O'Malley won 2 out of the 5 rounds in the first fight, honestly, just based on moments. So there's no way that we could look at this fight and say, well, Sean O'Malley's not going to have moments in this fight. I think he's going to have moments of hurting Merab, hitting him with big shots. He showed some decent scrambles in the fight as well. The only thing that really scares me in this fight for O'Malley is if he starts to get down on himself. You know, if Merab starts to take him down and be on top, be heavy on top, and he's just like, all right, here we go. This is the same. This is what we just went through this in his last fight. If he quits on himself in this fight, then, you know, fuck him. Get him out of here. But I'm going to bank on him not quitting. I'm going to bank on him coming in here as his best self, making those improvements, making those adjustments, being a little bit more aggressive on the feet, believing in himself a little bit more. Maybe if he's got 2 good hips, he could believe himself a little bit more. Sean O'Malley's going to be the official pick. As I said earlier, we're going on a limb here, all right? We're going on a limb. O'Malley's going to be the official pick. I appreciate you for watching. Like the video for me. Subscribe to the channel. UFC 316 going down in just a couple days. I'm excited for it. I'll be back very soon with the best bets video as well. Stay tuned for that. And the Long Shots Only live show on Friday. Yeah, Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So it should be a good time. Appreciate you. Till next time. Hey, Job Picks. We out.